Things. I kind of want to make this interactive. We have a good crowd today, but I do want to make this interactive, which means I'm interested in your questions. I'm interested in where you are in the qualitative process. Are you preparing for it? Do you have data? Are you working on a project? Want to know about that? What is your experience with AI, okay, in using qualitative analysis? So I have my own thoughts about that. Interested in hearing from you as well. I'm also interested in whether you're a student or faculty, what tradition are you using? When it comes to our discussion chapter, AI-driven discussion chapter based on your excerpting codes and themes, I am interested in what tradition you're using. Are you using, Braun and Clark? Are you using Guba and Lincoln? Do you not know what perspective you're coming from? So I'm interested in that as well. So do me a favor, if any of those thoughts resonate with you, go ahead and put that into the Q&A, and and then Melissa, you'll stop me someplace and say answer some questions, okay?
Yeah, and chat is open as well.
And chat is open. Very good. All righty. So the name of the webinar is Qualitative Analysis in the Age of AI. AI has shifted our whole landscape here. When I was doing my dissertation, we sat at my kitchen table for 1 year to a bunch of us, 3 or 4 of us, sitting excerpting over a year. That happens in 10 minutes. So, things have really changed quite a bit. And, our job is to kind of leverage the technology and then really being a great consumer of that, adding to that, and so forth. So let's see what we got here. So the challenge in qualitative is, I said 160 hours. There was 4 of us for 50 weeks, you know, for many hours. So 160 hours is probably on the light side, frankly. Um, Discussion chapters by themselves. I think what you'll see from what AI can present, it's probably a 30-hour savings right there. So 160 is on the light side, but by the time you collapse those excerpts together, create or generate code names and code descriptions, and then collapsing those codes into theme names and theme descriptions, and then tying them to the study aims or research questions. Yeah, you're in a few weeks. Um, the different methodologies or methodological approaches or theoretical frameworks, um, there's many of them, and they have very distinct characteristics. Um, I guess I kind of grew up with the phenomenological approach, and I'm kind of coming to the game later about these other approaches. But you'll see in our discussion chapter section where you can select from among 15 different approaches. Coding, obviously, the fatigue part is you're going to miss stuff. Okay, AI, like smart cars, don't text, don't get tired. Okay, so you're sitting there for a day or a weekend, you're gonna miss things. So all for folks doing hand coding and excerpting first or after. I'll give you a protocol to kind of follow, but fatigue is a real thing, and for those of you who've sat at kitchen tables, know that. The discussion chapter, again, this is something that we added on. We will be fleshing out an Intellectus 360 is a organization dedicated to the full journey. And I think this is one piece of a comprehensive tool set to help researchers. from lit review to quant to qual to discussion, and we have other things lined up for this year as well. So, but the discussion is one of that comprehensive piece to get that draft in front of us. I'm just kind of, I won't go into this too much, but just to say that in the tool, we can excerpt inductively, we can code, we can thematize, we do align those excerpts with those, okay, with the research questions. We do have integrated reliability. Our program has done a hell of a job to kind of make that integrated reliability very easy to do. Um, like we had to write a program, I had like 10,000 kappas during my dissertation. I think I have PTSD from that. Okay. Um, so, our team has put together a nice way to streamline kappas if, in fact, you want to do that. When I asked faculty, by the way, I said, do you use kappas and integrated reliability? And they said, we don't. And I asked, why don't you? And they said, it's such an arduous lift that it's difficult to do that. Well, so if that's in your realm, okay, I can show you that if there's interest in that. And then a discussion chapter, okay? Yeah, that 5 hours, that's wrong, okay? That's more 25 hours. Okay. The idea of formatting data. So when you're using these tools, any AI tool, but in particular, not in particular, but Intellectus Qualitative, just know that there are different ways of inputting this. You don't have to be I have 10 interviews, I have 10 transcripts, I'm going to upload those the way they are. Okay. Some transcripts need to be parsed and separated. For example, if part of the interview is about questions about intrinsic motivation and part of the interview is about extrinsic motivation, I would take each particular person's interview and separate those out, okay? And I'd make 10 interviews, okay, or sub interviews around internal motivation, and I would have 10 interviews about external motivation. So you can separate out interviews. One, you can separate out how you load them up. If you're looking at, my example is school perceptions of school, and you have faculty and you have administrators and you have students, you may want three separate projects. So know that the way that you curate that data before you put that in is going to matter in how you in the kind of excerpting and codes and themes that you get out of it. So just know that. That's the organized entry, I guess. Um, just to know, you can upload audio, you can upload video for a quarter a minute. You can get things transcribed. Okay. You can also use, well, of course, Zoom has, if you're going to be doing these interviews, get into Zoom, figure out how to get those recordings, and then you'll see that recordings button, you'll have recordings and transcripts. So once you enable that feature, you'll have that. You have to hit record, of course, but it will be transcribing that. So here is one protocol for inductive coding. My mnemonic is inductive. I get the codes in the data. Okay. So rather than deductive, where I'm uploading my own code. So inductive, essentially, let's just walk through this. Okay, so I'm going to upload the data or get it transcribed. Great. Okay. You have to read and reread these things. Even if you've conducted the interviews, and certainly if you have a team, okay, which people do, you need to read those. The crime of AI is that people are not experienced enough to assess the goodness or lack thereof of the output. That's the problem in the world here, okay? When it comes to qualitative, you have to know if those excerpts are real, make sense, and tie together with those codes. So you have to have that expertise. Bar none, no, okay? You have to do that. So, and I would say for other stuff that you use AI for as well, you need to have the expertise to make sense of that. You can't just take it, as it is. So, you've uploaded, you have expertise. We start the auto coding. Okay. So, what the tool does is it's going to go into all of your transcripts simultaneously. Okay. It's going to excerpt important passages. It's going to then combine, okay, similar passages. Then it's going to generate a code name and code description for each bundle of excerpts. Okay? I've had people spend 50 hours and we've captured their codes in 5 minutes. Same codes and more that were more general. Okay. It's, again, the key is you got to be smart isn't right, experience in the data and deep into the data to understand that they all go together. Okay. Hence the evaluation of it. Okay. You have to really validate these things and vet these things. Okay. Oftentimes, those code descriptions are very lengthy. Okay. You should edit those. Sometimes the code names, okay, are too lengthy and put them in your own voice. Look, those results should match your other voice in the rest of the document. So do that, okay? Tighten up the excerpts. By the way, select 3 to 5 excerpts. Sometimes you get 20 excerpts or 50 excerpts for a code. Do you need 20 or 50? No, we do not. All you need are excerpts that are representative of that code, okay? And to speak to reliability piece of it, when you have an excerpt, presumably from different participants, by the way, okay, you don't want the same participant, you're representing that code, okay? So you want different participants. When you have those excerpts, okay, an outside reader should be able to read that excerpt, okay, and say it goes with that code and not those other codes. That's how distinguishable, that's how well it should represent that code. Okay. And if you have a code that is not, pardon me, if you have an excerpt that is not really linked well to that code, that may not be a good code. That may not be a good excerpt. So everything's got to marry together like lock and key. Okay. All right. Auto thematizing. This process is, again, it's kind of a revelation because what it's doing is it's figuring out of all of my codes, okay, how many themes can represent all of those codes? One theme can represent the first 3 codes. A second theme can represent these other codes, okay? So it's figuring out the optimal number of themes, then it's generating a theme name and theme description. Just like with the codes, you have to edit that theme name. You'll see some of these things are very lengthy. You have to edit the theme name. You have to edit the theme description. Okay. That's the evaluation part. Some people have a paucity, so have very few interviews. Sometimes, well, let me give you a few permutations of this. Sometimes the codes are sufficient. Okay. You have great code names, great code descriptions. You have an optimal amount of these things, okay? And you boil down the excerpts. That's your analysis, okay? Stop there. Option 1. Some folks have too many codes, and really we need to collapse these things. Hence the thematizing, option two. Okay. And those themes would be presented in the results. Some faculty want all the above. They want to see the codes. They want to see sub themes. They want to see themes. Okay. If you're doing grounded theory, they're going to want some kind of optimal thing. So you want to present students out there. You want to present the way that the faculty want that. Faculty, you're going to want to present it the way that the journal wants it. Okay. And all of those options are available in Intellectus Qualitative. All right, number 7, the research theme alignment. It's a tongue twister. So the research theme alignment, what that process is doing is that you have themes, you have research questions. What is the rationale for why certain themes go with certain research questions? That's what the research theme alignment does. Evaluate and download, and if folks want to hear about iterative reliability, I can do that. But that is a 7-step or 8-step process to conducting an inductive qualitative analysis. All right, Melissa, should I stop for a question or keep going?
I think you're okay to keep going.
Okay,
And anyone, just please put your questions in the Q&A throughout if you want.
got it. Okay, deductive, similar process. I'm going to hold off on it at the moment. So when it comes to the discussion chapter, folks are using different methodological approaches. Here are some buckets of those, okay? And just know that when you select one of those approaches, that your discussion chapter will be curated from that lens. So just know that that's there. Um, we're going to move, well, this is just saying after we do the analysis, we're going to select that framework and then we're going to create that discussion draft. Okay, let's get to the demo. Question and answers can happen here, can after the demo, or can happen at any point you like. And then I just want to make sure that you do have this contact information for students with Samantha, Ashley with faculty, Melissa for all the above. Our phone number, website, which has all of our tools and latest update. We should probably have a there's probably you can email us. We'll get you on the newsletter list, and then you can use the QR code for a qual consult if you want. And then let's just get back to it. Okay. So to begin, we start with creating a project. Okay, create a new project. You can put in your create project name. Okay, you can enter in your research questions. Okay, add research questions here. That's going to be used for the theme research question connection. Oops. Under the methodological description, you can see the drop down here of all the different kind of approaches. Okay, and just know that the discussion is going to use that and give you and present it in from that lens. Purpose statement, theoretical framework. Okay. And participant description. All right, so you can enter in those. So I'm going to grab Fred's. By the way, if you missed any of those, once you create a project like I did for Fred, you can go to these 3 dots, okay, and update that and jump right back into that naming and so forth, okay? So I'm going to open up Fred's. So I uploaded many different transcripts here. You can add transcripts by just clicking Add Transcript. And here you can upload files, upload audio, video, or have a blank canvas to paste or to type in. What I did here is I went into autocode, excuse me, and I went into AI code, AI tools. I went to inductive coding, which is doing the identifying of the excerpts, creating a code name and code description, inductive coding. That resulted in codes like this. Adaptive AI pedagogy, a description of that code, and then the different excerpts that it grabbed, okay? All right, to support that. So that was through inductive coding. And it takes a minute, which I will not bore you with sitting waiting. Okay. You should also know that you can add codes manually by add code. And here you can enter in a code name, a code description, okay, and click add. Once you have a new code, you can highlight a portion of it by clicking the plus button. It adds that excerpt to that code or that code, okay? So we have AI ways of getting codes in and then a manual way of getting codes in. For the thematizing, I went to AI tools again. I went to automatic thematizing. And again, it's going to want extra code. So when you select that, it's going to look at all of these codes and figure out the number of themes and then the name for each of the themes. When I did that with Fred's project, I came up with a theme like this, which had all of these codes in it. And this theme was entitled Adaptive AI Integration, Educators Navigating Pedagogical Transformation. And then it has the excerpts that were tied to all of those codes. And you can see all of the codes and themes when you go to out of the transcript window, you go to the insights window. And if you go to the bar chart, which I really like to use very much, let me just go here for a second. So let's go to code. When you go to bar charts and look for the codes, you can see the numerous codes are sitting over to the left. The interviewees are sitting to the right. And inside of this is each interviewee and the number of excerpts. Okay, so interviewee IV4 contributed one excerpt to that code. Interviewee number 2 contributed 4 excerpts. And just as a global look at this thing, you can see for this first interview, okay, adaptive teaching and transition, you can see it's well represented by lots of participants, and you have up to 20 excerpts there. Fantastic. That's a great, okay, that's a great code. Okay. Here I have educator technology integration journey. Well, gosh, I only have 2 people that contributed a whopping 4 excerpts. Now, there are needles and haystacks. Sometimes those are interesting, so I wouldn't immediately ignore it, but I would go back to that particular. I would go to that. I would go to that theme or that code and go to those details, and I would look pretty carefully at that, the description, and the excerpts to say, is this something I want to keep or not? Okay, so code. So look at that. Okay, so that looks like a different animal than that with respect to distribution of interviewees and number of excerpts. I also like to go to the theme occurrence. Similarly, you can see, hey, gosh, this theme, well represented, 130 different excerpts, lots of participants in there. Fantastic. Okay. These, pretty damn good. Lots of interviewees, lots of excerpts. This, not so much. Okay. Again, one, two participants, four excerpts in that theme. I may not want to keep that. Okay. I would also start with research. Well, we could do a few things here. Well, let's go straight down the list here. Okay. Research question rationale. Here are my research questions, or question in this case. I would tie them together. This is a great place for check all. Okay. And you want to check all of them because I want to tie all of those themes to that research question. Okay. And what we have, okay, perfect. Okay, so what we have is the research question. Here is the first theme, and this is a rationale for why that theme um, helps support or examine or answer that research question. Now, how do you know if that's a great rationale? Okay, because you have the experience of saying, of understanding that theme. Okay, and you are now deciding whether or not that makes sense with that research question. This is a second theme that has a rationale of why that theme goes with that research question. So the research question rationale is tying together question, research question, and theme. The other thing you want to do is to do the theme description. So you select, and you should select all of these, okay? I'm just selecting a few of them. Select each theme one by one, okay? I like to select all the excerpts. You'll all get a recording of this in case I'm going too quickly. Select each of the themes, select all of the excerpts, and hit submit. So what you have is the theme description for each theme. This is the theme description, which you should edit. And then here are the excerpts. Okay. So that's that's the first pieces, that's mandatory. You need to do that. Okay. As well as add your own themes and excerpts, themes, codes, and excerpts if you'd like. Then we get to the discussion draft. Here, you should be selecting which approach you're using. Right? And if you don't have one listed, you can say not listed. We're going to default to Gubert and Lincoln. So, and then once you do that, I've conducted that here. Drag it up. Drag it up. There we go. So in that discussion draft, you'll see an introduction. You'll see a summary of the findings for your particular excerpts and themes. So walking through each of the themes, and I'm going quickly. It has an interpretation of that, but importantly, it's tying your data to the literature of the past. That's a big deal. And again, it's got to make sense to your brain, but you can see them weaving in a lit review. By the way, it's an opportunity if you'd like to look at those references and perhaps beef up your lit review, as some students are required to do, so things are kind of working together. All right. Theoretical implications of your findings. It's a lot. Practical implications of your findings, implications for institutional leadership, for professional development. Okay. These are all just intellectual ideas for you to consider. Okay. So it goes on. More implications. Then we get into limitations of the study. Again, for your review. Lots of limitations to be had. Recommendations for future research. Fantastic. Any conclusions? And I think when we download this, we'll have the references, or its references are going to be at the end here. Yeah. So the references will be down here for all of the things that are mostly in that discussion chapter, okay? You have to vet these just like you read every sentence of the discussion. You should be very careful in using those references. Things are getting better and better. In 2 years, we won't be having this conversation, but right now, the conversation is certainly you should edit the document sentence by sentence and vet every reference. And then you can just download that here into an editable Word document. I don't know if my download is actually working here. There we go. Okay, and here's the insights document. You can see it's pretty healthy in terms of length. 53 pages. You're going to need to get rid of, all of those excerpts. Again, you don't need 100 of them. You need, 3 to 5 of them. And this is single spaced. So, but at least now you can start vetting that document in a way that, you know, you would have just, started to get into into one interview. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead. I think there's questions to be had here. Melissa, you want to direct me to different questions or?
Yep, a quick one is someone just missed how do you merge two codes? So if you could show that.
How to merge two codes. How to merge two codes into a
Just
into a
together.
okay. So okay. So you can go here, you can go to merge, and then so we're in this one, and then okay. So I can merge these codes into the existing code. Okay, so now we've collapsed them into that code. Other questions? Let me just start banging through these.
Okay.
Um, we don't talk about other platforms that are kind of slow to use technology. So, okay. Brown and Clark. So, yeah, we have a few of those. Let me see here. Let me just go here. And let me go here. Update. So here are the different, I think people wanted to see this. There's Brown and Clark 6-phase and Brown and Clark reflective. Okay. I'm a student. Hi, welcome, Carlos. Isaac, excited to see what you've done. Thanks. Okay, working on that. Okay. Want to know the best AI tools to use. So, well, I would say this. Um, try them all. Try them all. And even when you use AI, I suggest that you use Chat and you use Gemini and you use Claude that really look and see which one gives you the best response for you. Um, and I would say the same thing with the qualitative. I mean, we're looking to make the best product possible um, for researchers. I think there's other use cases to be had here too, but um, so you use different ones, and let us know. Um, grade two, thank you. Can you continue to add transcripts for coding even after you've either closed or saved the project? So the tool is designed, people do ask that. So it's a good question. People say, hey, I've uploaded these. Can I now add another transcript? So you can do that, okay? Um, but then I'd kind of start over, okay? Because I want to integrate that new transcript um, and the excerpts thereof with those other excerpts and codes and themes. So, I think is to the suggestion is wait until you have all the transcripts. So yes, you can add them, but I think you're starting from scratch. So I would just wait. Um, okay. There's other ways around that too. I'm thinking about creating a new project using your existing codes. So maybe that's the place to go. So you can export here and you can export your code book, okay, which has the name of either the theme or the code. Should wrap this. Oops, too much wrapping. Um, you have the name and the description of the theme or the code. You can upload. This is another way to do it. Upload these new codes, okay? So I'd get rid of the themes. I would upload those codes. So take that. Instead of exporting, import those into a brand new project. You have new codes with no excerpts. Then I would just go ahead and run deductive. Since you already have the code name and description, now look to see if there's supporting excerpts in the new from the new interviews. So that's another mode. Okay. That's a good question, and I wouldn't have got into that without you asking that. So thank you. Can you add additional transcripts? Same question. Where can I find my access code and get access to Intellectus 360? Somebody smarter than me's got to get to that. Amazing too. Thank you. Discussion draft, excellent, good. As the current tool considered ethical way to do quality analysis, you know, will be accepted by universities. It is accepted by universities, and we have a list of universities under our Intellectus 360 website. So Intellectus, nope, Intellectus. So you can see the academic clients. So you can see lots of folks are incorporating the literature review, Intellectus Lit Review, Intellectus Qualitative, Intellectus Quantitative. The ethics is a different animal. So the ethics are everyone's trying to figure this out. No one's got the answers, okay? Institutions to, you know, to keep their degrees valuable are trying to figure out what is acceptable, what is not. I think at the end of the day, I think the answer is going to in part lie within rather you presenting this output and then showing why you kept an excerpt, why you changed the name. I think you have to have an audit trail of that, okay? I mean, this is kind of showing you kind of a trail of what's happening here, okay? Some trail. But I think you need for your committee, I mean, committee members, you need to be asking different questions during that final defense. But for students and faculty, I think you need to be tracking everything. Here's the AI output. and here's what I did with it. I think that transparency is going to be part of the answer. Um, might have missed merge. Okay. Ethical implication. So yeah. By the way, you can, um, you know, I think the ethics is our own internal ethics. Okay. That's the start of things. So it's not the external ethics, it's our internal ethics. So if our internal ethics say, I'm not comfortable with that, then go and do those transcribe, pardon me, excerpt code and theme name by yourself, then perhaps use that as a follow up to say, did I miss anything? Okay. Your ethics and your standards are these standards. Okay. Schools may not like it. Okay. Or agree with it, but your ethics are the core. So if you're not comfortable, do it by hand. Use this as a follow up. Okay. In terms of school, I would be 100% transparent. Okay. The last thing you want to do is spend 6 years of your life and $50,000 to say, oh, my school strictly prohibited that and I use that. That doesn't make sense. So I would be transparent that tools exist to help automate the excerpting process. I have vetted those, I have edited those, I have added to those, get involved with it. So it's this is not secret stuff, okay? This is just something that we're in a new age now, okay? We're in a new age of we're not hunter-gatherers, we are now farmers that have a yield that can say, I don't have to stay at the kitchen table for a year. I can excerpt in 10 minutes and have the expertise of that document. Um, would the system meet it is meeting university policies, but we also have, I mean, there's lots of policies about this is a tool that can go behind the LMS. So there's different kinds of IT kinds of constraints. Melissa, you can tell me. I don't believe we have ever had a problem with IT in terms of
No.
getting it adopted. So yeah, so we will meet those policy requirements. One advantage of this versus a chat GPT, for example, would be nothing gets trained. Our enterprise subscription does not use this for training. So this is certainly de-identify, use pseudonyms. Okay. All right. Will the application automatically separate the inductive and deductive code statements? No, it's just going to add to it. So I would say if you're doing um, well, I mentioned one use case, which is we have excerpted, coded, and thematized, and now I have another batch, okay, and I want to use those same codes to export the codes, then start a new project, upload with the new data, you have the existing codes, and then you can use the pardon me, then use the deductive process. Okay. Um, other thoughts, questions?
If
I should go
you go
ahead.
to the Q&A,
Pardon?
the
Do you want me to go to the
Q&A.
Q&As? Pardon me. Thank you. Okay. I have themes and codes. I have emerging similar codes, deleting good, good, good. Is there a way to look at all the excerpts of a given code bucket? Thank you for the question. Under excerpts, you can go to codes, and I think if you go right here, so you can deselect all and then just select the so you can drill into those particular codes only, and you look at those excerpts, okay? And then you can go to those excerpts, okay, right there. Great question.
And
Thank
and
you.
you can also download that if you want to Excel, if you want to just read through all of them.
Here,
Yeah.
got it. Okay. Um, okay. If you want more of a description of a theme, but a full discussion, do that. Let me see if I understand your question. What do you do if you want more than a description of a theme, but a full-fledged analytic memo? I mean, um, not quite sure what to do with that question.
I can
So,
unmute too if you want.
sure.
Jay and I have worked together a little bit.
Okay, good.
Hi, Jay.
Hey, Jay, what do you say?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. Help me
Yeah.
with your question. So, if you want more
So,
of a description with the theme,
so let me try to pull up my project. I'm just looking at it by myself here. I'm looking at interorganizational partnerships and that are supposed to be fostering innovation amongst those partners.
yep.
And just for an example, I have sort of a theme around, what it means what are the antecedent conditions, right? And so the description of the theme is, good, but it's not a full-fledged memo, along the lines of what we do in grounded theory as we develop our,
Mhm.
different narratives that are in my words, in my words, and then I plug in the data as I've developed that narrative what the theme is. So where can Intellectus help me do that a little bit more fully?
I would, have you played with the discussion draft?
I have a question at the bottom after you looked at the discussion, after I looked at the discussion,
Yeah.
what you put out. I was thinking discussion was just like chapter 5 or discussion of an article, but it looks like it does more than that.
Well, I think you're going to have a summary of the findings from that particular point of view. So if you're using grounded theory, it might well, you can never be confident about 100% confident, but you
Sure.
could look, I would for sure look for the discussion to see if it helps you with some of that grounded theory perspective.
Right. Okay. And it helps certainly to hone and merge and delete
Yeah.
extraneous codes and before you do that, right? Or else you get a
You
lot of
should do
noise.
that first. Yes, great point. So
Hmm.
yes, you
Can
should
you?
clean up. You should clean up. Um, well, you can look at it from the bar graph, but you want to clean up codes and excerpts that you don't want. Yes,
Yeah. Thank you.
and themes. Yeah, no, great questions. Can I extract the code book and report? So yeah, so code books are up here. All right. Let me. I think I want to do. Uh, show a couple things. So I want to put this back. Let me get rid of this. So again, yeah, the code book is up here. I want to current slide. I want to make sure everyone has contact information. I also want to highlight a couple of upcoming webinars for folks. We have a quantitative webinar from data to defense upcoming for the nurses and other healthcare. We have analyzing QI and EB evidence-based practice projects. Okay, upcoming as well. I will do an advanced stats uh, one. I have that revolving around nursing, but that's coming too. So keep an eye out for those. And then for those that are kind of doing quant, I have, cracking the data analysis plan. So I have a quant methodology piece upcoming too. So final thoughts, Melissa, any final?
I don't think so. There may be one or two questions that come in, but I think that's it.
So if there's any questions, certainly email us. And then we'll respond back to you. And again, for faculty, if you want trials and so forth, Ashley is the individual to reach out to, and our phone number at any point. Okay, and then you'll get upcoming webinars, descriptions thereof, and then a link to this webinar video. So with that, I'm going to say thank you all for joining. Please pass this along to others. Tell other people. they don't know that these technologies really exist. So please share with others. And with that, I'll say stay safe. Thank you all, and see you next time.